The story begins with the sight of a rat that is suddenly caught and eaten by an invisible creature. This creature turns out to be a gorilla, which is being used as a test subject by a group of scientists conducting experiments in a secret facility. Their experiment aims to create a serum that can make living creatures invisible. Next, we are introduced to one of the genius scientists working in the facility, named Sebastian Kane, who is currently trying to solve the problem of reversing the invisibility process, a problem he has repeatedly failed to solve. After numerous failed attempts, Sebastian finally discovers the solution. Overjoyed by this breakthrough, he immediately contacts his fellow scientist Linda, a woman he has deep feelings for. However, when he notices a man standing behind Linda, Sebastian is visibly disappointed and quickly asks, "Who is that?" Linda simply replies, "That's none of your business." The next day, Sebastian and his fellow scientists are seen at the facility where they work, ready to test the discovery Sebastian has made. The formula he has successfully developed aims to return their test subjects, who had previously been rendered invisible, back to their visible, normal state. They had already managed to create a transparent serum that made animals invisible, one of which was the gorilla we saw earlier in the story. Not only that, but they also succeeded in making several other animals invisible, which could only be seen using thermal goggles. One of the scientists, named Matt, is tasked with bringing the gorilla, known as Isabel, for the antidote test. When Matt tries to inject Isabel with a sedative, his hand is bitten, causing it to bleed, and the gorilla escapes from its cage. This forces Sebastian to step in and resolve the situation. Once everything is ready and the serum is injected, Isabel's veins and blood vessels slowly begin to appear, indicating that the serum is working. However, panic ensues when Isabel shows signs of extreme pain, and her heart rate seems to be dropping. Fortunately, this condition doesn't last long, and Isabel's body gradually returns to normal, signaling the success of their experiment. To celebrate their achievement, the team gathers that evening at a nearby restaurant. During this celebration, Sebastian attempts to rekindle his past romantic relationship with Linda, but Linda declines, as she is now with a new partner. The following day, Sebastian, Linda, and Matt are summoned by the military and other high-ranking officials to report on the progress of their research. Surprisingly, Sebastian, who leads the project, lies by claiming they have not yet found a reversal serum. This unexpected statement leaves Linda and Matt confused. Sebastian explains that if they tell the truth, the research project will be shut down and they will all lose their jobs. However, the main reason is that Sebastian is very curious and obsessed with the invisibility serum. So when they return to the research facility, Sebastian lies again, saying that the military has agreed to allow their research to proceed to the next stage, testing the invisibility serum on a human subject. This decision leaves the other scientists in disbelief due to the extreme risks involved, but Linda and Matt know very well that Sebastian is lying. Nevertheless, Sebastian manages to convince them by volunteering himself as the test subject for the invisibility serum. The next day, the team prepares for the illegal experiment. Sebastian, who is to be the subject of the experiment, confidently removes all his clothes, an act that momentarily stuns Linda. Once everything is set, Sebastian insists on injecting the serum himself, reasoning that if something goes wrong, no one else would be held responsible. Shortly after, Sebastian begins to feel strange sensations in his body, and suddenly he starts to thrash in pain caused by the serum. Slowly, his body starts to fade, signaling that the invisibility serum is working. Seeing that the experiment has succeeded, the other scientists are thrilled with their accomplishment. Later that night, Linda stays by Sebastian's side, showing her care for her colleague. Initially, everything seems fine, with Sebastian still able to joke around and play pranks on his colleagues. However, as midnight approaches, when everyone is asleep, Sebastian starts to display odd behavior. He deliberately unbuttons the shirt of a female colleague named Sarah and behaves inappropriately. Not stopping there, he also spies on another female scientist, Janice, while she is in the restroom, making the women uncomfortable and on edge. The next morning, when everyone is gathered, Sarah and Janice share their unsettling experiences with the group. However, due to the lack of evidence, they are reluctant to take any action against Sebastian. Unbeknownst to them, Sebastian is already there, listening to their entire conversation, which only makes him more cautious and meticulous in his future actions. This becomes evident when Sebastian continues his inappropriate behavior towards Linda, who is working alone in her lab. The team then attempts to reverse the invisibility procedure to make Sebastian visible again. But to their shock, when the reversal serum is injected, Sebastian's veins and blood vessels become visible, only for his body to disappear again, indicating that the serum is not working as intended. Unable to endure being constantly invisible, which makes it difficult for him to perform daily activities and interact with others. He even struggles with simple tasks like using the restroom. Sebastian requests a synthetic mask to at least give him some semblance of normalcy and confidence until the reversal serum is perfected. Despite the challenges, Matt and Linda are determined not to abandon their colleague. They continue to work tirelessly to perfect the reversal serum, though they have not succeeded yet, a fact that increasingly frustrates Sebastian. Days of isolation within the facility without fresh air naturally lead to boredom, stress, and a strong desire to escape. Sebastian, feeling these pressures, begins to act out, losing his temper frequently, and eventually decides to leave the facility. Despite Carter's attempts to prevent him, as it goes against protocol, Sebastian, unable to stand it any longer, insists on returning to his apartment. Carter, unable to stop him, contacts Linda to inform her of the situation, urging her to go to Sebastian's apartment and persuade him to return to the lab. Meanwhile, at his apartment, Sebastian faces a moral dilemma when he sees a woman across the street who has just returned from work and is about to take a shower. Although he hesitates, his resolve quickly weakens, and he decides to go to her apartment, removing his mask so that no one will recognize him. The woman, who has just finished showering, is dressed in a pajama. Shortly after, she hears a knock on her door, but upon checking, she finds no one there. Unbeknownst to her, Sebastian has already sneaked into her apartment. He begins to play tricks on her by moving her mirror, and when she senses something is amiss, Sebastian pounces on her. Back at Sebastian's apartment, Linda arrives only to find his mask discarded, leading her to quickly contact her colleagues and head to the laboratory to devise a plan to apprehend Sebastian. When everything is set, Sebastian suddenly appears. Linda confronts him, asking why he removed his mask. Sebastian lies, claiming he was merely collecting his belongings. Linda doesn't believe him and threatens to report him to the military if he leaves the facility again, knowing that doing so would also ruin her own career. Despite the tense situation, Linda and the team return to their work, attempting once more to perfect the reversal serum, but with no success. Feeling increasingly hopeless, Sebastian begins to accept his condition and considers that perhaps being invisible is a fate he must embrace. Remembering Linda's threat to report him to the military, Sebastian devises a plan to sabotage the security cameras so that it appears he is always present, allowing him to move about freely without anyone knowing. Once the cameras are disabled, Sebastian takes the opportunity to visit Linda's apartment, where Matt happens to be, spending time with the woman he loves. Overcome with jealousy and anger, Sebastian throws a rock, shattering Linda's window. Realizing that this was Sebastian's doing, Linda contacts her colleague, Frank, to check on Sebastian's whereabouts. With the cameras tampered with, Frank believes Sebastian is still in his room. Still seething with anger, Sebastian takes out his frustration on one of the lab's test animals, killing it in a cruel manner. The next day, Sarah notices the animal's death and confronts Sebastian, accusing him of the deed, which he does not deny. Growing suspicious, the team reviews the surveillance footage, which appears to show Sebastian always in his room. But when Linda is harassed by Sebastian again, she decides to head to the lab, where she discovers the tampered security cameras and realizes that Sebastian has been deceiving them all. Realizing the situation has escalated beyond control, Linda and Matt decide to inform their boss, Howard, to report the situation and request intervention from the committee. However, they are unaware that Sebastian has been following them and listening to every word they say. As soon as Linda and Matt leave, Howard becomes Sebastian's next victim, drowned in his own pool. The next day, the team still hasn't received any orders from Howard, and when Linda tries to contact him, She is shocked to learn that he has been found dead in his pool. Desperate, Linda attempts to contact another general, hoping for a solution, but the phone lines suddenly go dead. When Matt tries to call, the same thing happens, confirming their suspicion that Sebastian is behind it all, having sabotaged the phone lines. Determined to prevent his crimes from being exposed, Sebastian has meticulously planned everything, as evidenced when Linda and Matt try to leave to contact security, only to find that the facility's security codes no longer work. Checking further, they discover that the same applies to everyone else, except Sebastian, meaning no one can enter or leave the facility except for him. With no other choice, the team agrees to capture Sebastian. However, Sebastian, already aware of their plan, ambushes them, starting with Janice, whom he strangles with a cable. Meanwhile, the rest of the team, unaware of Janice's absence, find Sebastian's discarded mask and clothing, making them even more cautious. Once they realize Janice is missing, the team rushes back to the main room and is horrified to find her lifeless body. Desperate to capture Sebastian, they devise a plan to track his movements, using a motion detection device. Linda stays in the command center to guide the others, while Carter and Matt attempt to corner him. However, their efforts are in vain as Sebastian outsmarts them, leading to a confrontation where Carter is severely injured and left bleeding profusely. Panic escalates when Matt, in an attempt to shoot Sebastian, accidentally ruptures a steam pipe. The ensuing cloud of hot steam makes it impossible for the team to detect Sebastian using thermal goggles, allowing him to blend into the mist. Just as Sebastian is about to attack Matt, Linda arrives just in time to save him. In the midst of the chaos, the team continues to make risky decisions, like when Sarah courageously ventures out alone to find tools, while Frank stays behind to tend to Carter's wounds. This decision proves fatal as Sarah becomes Sebastian's next victim. Now only Linda, Frank, and Matt remain. The three of them abandon Carter, who is beyond saving, and search for Sarah, only to find her dead body in a cold storage room. As they examine her, Sebastian, who has been hiding nearby, kills Frank by sneaking up on him. Matt is also injured, sustaining a wound to his abdomen, and both he and Linda are locked in the freezing room by Sebastian. As the temperature drops dangerously, Linda quickly treats Matt's wound with makeshift bandages and devises a plan to escape using a simple lever system to open the locked door. Meanwhile, Sebastian, now wearing his mask again, prepares to leave the facility. But before doing so, he meticulously crafts a chemical bomb set to detonate in 5 minutes. As Sebastian attempts to flee using the elevator, Linda arrives and sets him on fire, causing the synthetic mask to melt. However, this is not enough to kill him, and Sebastian manages to escape. Linda then activates the fire suppression system, hoping to use it to locate Sebastian by seeing the water interact with his invisible form. As Sebastian corners Linda and nearly kills her, Matt, now recovered, intervenes and saves her. In a classic suspenseful moment, the team makes the critical mistake of not ensuring the antagonist is completely neutralized before leaving him behind. This allows Sebastian, who survives the initial encounter, to rise again and launch one final attack. However, this time, Matt is prepared, and they manage to electrocute Sebastian with a powerful electrical current. Linda and Matt then rush to escape the facility by climbing the elevator cables, just as the bomb is about to explode. Despite being severely burned and electrocuted, Sebastian somehow musters the strength to pursue them one last time. In the end, he is defeated when he loses his grip and falls into the inferno below, consumed by the flames. Linda and Matt, having narrowly escaped the explosion, finally emerge from the facility, battered but alive, as the entire building collapses in flames behind them. And the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.